Hello. So I would love to begin this speech with a article from the Washington Post, and it states in 2018, 304 people committed suicide in the workplace, an 11% increase from the year before in 2017. So the reason I chose this topic is because I want to learn more about depression and the cause of it in a work-related environment. Throughout my research, I kept getting more and more involved in it, and all the information was flooding through my head, and all these studies and statistics I saw were so interesting. So today I will be showing you why many workers develop mental illnesses in the workplace. After listening to speech, you will understand why depression in the workplace is a serious issue, and learn about why and how you can treat it. So I'll be starting off with an excerpt from an article by Forbes magazine, and it reads, most employees who attempt to die by suicide have mental health or physiological disorders that haven't been addressed. This excerpt shows that mental illnesses are such a big deal in the workplace and need to be attended to as soon as possible. So to improve my credibility, I've done extensive research and looked through many credible resources, such as the National Center for Biotechnical Information. I'm stuck at pronouncing on that. And Mental Health America, and even the Suicide Prevention Resource Center. So I will be covering three main points today. First, I'll examine the effects of depression in the workplace. Second, I will be discussing how we can fix depression in the workplace. And third, I will examine how it's caused. So, starting off, I will be examining how depression in a work-related environment affects the victim and those around them. So, in the workplace, coworkers and the victim are affected by depression quite frequently, more than you would think actually. So, starting off, I found an article by Forbes showing how depression affects relationships between the victim and coworker, and it reads, if the depressed employee is moody, coworkers may avoid them, leading to isolation, conflict, and poor communication. I find this so interesting because your mood really can make or break someone's whole perspective on you, and even cause to isolation between them and said victim. Further supporting my point, this statistic gathered from Mental Health America showing the effects on the victim's financial status just from this one mental illness states that the annual economic cost of depression in 1995 was $600 per depressed worker. Nearly 1/3 of these costs are for treatment, and 72% are costs related to being absent from the work, from being depressed, and lost productivity at work. Mental illnesses can cause self-destructive behavior and hurt themselves even more than it hurts themselves. Continuing, a study done by National Center for Biotechnology Information concluded that this study found that depression symptoms that related to work absences impaired work performance. And results partly confirm that work stressors add to this impact. This shows that depression affects much greater than just the workplace and lost productivity. It slams countries across the world and lost revenue from depression. Now that we have looked up how depression affects others in the workplace, let's move on to how depression is actually caused in the workplace. So let's start off with this point with the actual medical definition for depression. So it reads, a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significantly impairment in daily life. Depression is much more than being sad. It can lead to a major loss of productivity, as we saw in the last point. So how is this caused? In this point, I will educate you on how depression is usually caused in work-related environments. A statistic done by Anxiety and Depression Association of America shows that the main culprits for work-related stress are deadlines being at 55%, interpersonal relationships at 53%, staff management of 50%, and dealing with issues and problems that arise at 49%. These issues are very common in work-related settings. It's so common, it's almost scary to how it's caused. So, depression in the workplace is a very obvious, serious issue in the country. So how can we minimize the amount of workers getting this mental illness? So, obviously, telling your coworkers sooner is the better in this scenario. So, beginning my evidence on this point, an article from the University of Michigan states, consult with a clinician who can help you decide on treatment options and screen for other relevant medical conditions. Depending on your preferences and the severity of your disorder, a clinician can prescribe medication and or refer you to a psychotherapist and psychiatrist for further explanation and on this treatment. So these are just a few ways you can treat depression. So educating your employees is also a huge one. And so an article from the American Psychiatric Association states that educate employees and managers about how mental health conditions, including depression, encourage employees to seek help when needed. So mental health illness really stays taboo. So training your supervisors and employees on how to start a conversation if they're concerned about an employee. So, taking everything into account here, depression in the workplace is a serious issue. Talked about how depression affects others. Depression isn't just about being sad. It can affect others in a great way, greatly diminish your productivity in the workplace. We have covered the main causes in the workplace, some being overworking, due dates, relationships in work-related environments, etc., etc. We then finally covered about how we can minimize the amount of depressed workers by raising awareness to the taboo topic of mental illnesses. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to research on this topic, and I found it very informative and interesting. I learned so much from this, and it will apply these lessons I learned from this into my future. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.